Hey guys, it's whever, and I'm bringing you my Nintendo Switch review. Now I realize it's a little late, or a lot late. I mean, the Switch has been out for almost a year, but I'm going to give you my review on the console anyway. Now, I'm going to break down the review into 3 parts. Now, it's supposed to be 4, but there are 2 reasons why I'm skipping the online part of the review. 1, I haven't really played enough Switch games online, I believe, to really give my full opinion on how Nintendo Online is. And 2, might as well wait until September or whenever the actual service comes out fully and then give my full thoughts on that. So it's just 3 parts. First the games, then the controllers, and then what I want to call bonus round. Now we'll get to what that is a little later. First things first, the games. Now Nintendo has a history with games, especially with the Wii U. The Wii U, let's face it, didn't have much games, didn't have much third party at all. And people, I think, were going into the Switch thinking like, wow, the Wii U didn't have much third party and stuff, so how will the Switch be? And then we get the Switch announcement, and there weren't much games on launch. But Nintendo, seemingly knowing that people were going to be concerned about how much games there were, released a list saying like over 100 games are coming out in the year 2017. Now the Switch has a lot of games, and Nintendo was actually able to get a lot of third-party devs to bring games over to the console. So Nintendo is definitely doing better, in my opinion, than they did for the Wii U. They are bringing games over, they are appealing to the third-party devs, and the games that I've played are really nice, such as Mario Odyssey and Mario Rabbids Kingdom and Bomberman. They're very good games, and I think that Nintendo is really on the right track. But of course there are some downsides. Nintendo Switch is not as powerful as the base PS4 or the base Xbox One. So any third-party games that come out of this will obviously look worse, in some cases significantly worse than the games on the other consoles. Also, the Nintendo lineup is still missing a lot of third-party games that people may want, such as there's no Call of Duty game on the Nintendo Switch yet. There's also no Battlefield game, and there's no Madden. So there are a lot of AAA games that still have yet to make it over the system, but I believe within the next year or the year after that, a lot of these AAA games will be making its way over to Nintendo system, but we'll see. Let's move on to controls. Now the controls, when I first saw them, and I'm not talking about on YouTube, I'm talking about in real life, I was a little concerned because the system itself looked much smaller than I thought it would be. And the Joy-Cons definitely looked a lot smaller than I thought they would be. And I'm thinking like, okay, these don't look like they'd be the most comfortable controls. But once I put them in my hand and I started playing, I almost immediately changed my opinion. The Joy-Cons are very comfortable. In fact, when playing a Switch game, I usually would prefer to use the Joy-Cons as opposed to my wired Pro controller. Because the Joy-Cons, being able to hold one in the right hand and being able to hold the other in the left hand and sit any way you want or lie down or do whatever, it's just very comfortable. It's more comfortable than having a regular controller in your hands and having to sit a certain way so that your hands are holding the controller properly. It's much more comfortable. And them being that small didn't really affect gameplay. I was still able to play very well, and them being that small didn't really affect gameplay at all. So the controllers are really good. I also have a wired Pro controller, not a proper one, and it is also good for most games. When you put it in, you can tell that Nintendo definitely worked hard to make sure that both the Pro controller and the Joy-Cons would feel good when you're playing the game. Now there's a downside, such as some games like Mario Odyssey seems like they were made for the Joy-Cons, and when you use your Pro controller, there are certain things that are a lot harder to do. Number 1 is certain actions by Cappy that are relatively easy with the Joy-Cons, but when you have the Pro controller, they're much harder to do. It's also very nice that the Joy-Cons come, you don't have to replace the batteries, and when you want to charge, you simply leave the Switch hooked up to the dock, and you put the Joy-Cons on the Switch. It's very easy. But once again, another downside is that if you don't have a charging dock, and you have more than one pair of Joy-Cons, you have to switch them out of the console when you want them to charge. Now let's move on to the bonus round. Now what is the bonus round? The bonus round to me is something that separates the console from the other consoles. A reason why you'd buy the third-party game on this console instead of the other consoles. Now, with the PS4, that may be, oh, the PS4 is more powerful than the Xbox One, so the game's going to look and maybe play a little better on this system. But with the Switch, the obvious reason is the portability factor. This separates it from the PS4 and the Xbox One. Because, let's face it, as I said before, games aren't going to look as good on the Switch as they are on the other consoles. But when it comes especially to third-party games, a major reason to buy them on the Switch is that you can take them anywhere. This is extremely good, especially for adults, because let's face it, we as adults who like to play games, we have very busy lives. And we aren't always in front of our TV and able to play games, or we don't always have time to just sit down and play the game. Also, even though we have very busy lives, we also have a lot of what I call chill time. Now, chill time isn't time that you decide like, okay, I'm going to sit here and chill. It's the time, a lot of times it's like transit time. Like when you're on the subway for an hour because you got to go to work. So you're on the subway for about an hour and maybe you're just looking at what you're passing by. And then you're like, wait a minute, I could play my Switch. Or when you're on a road trip and you're not driving the whole time, it's like, okay, I could touch on my Switch, play a couple hours while my friend drives or something like that. Because let's face it, most Nintendo consoles have had what are known as gimmicks, like the motion controls on the Wii or the Wii U gamepad. But the portability factor isn't really a gimmick. It's something that's that separates it from the other consoles, and it's something that just is really useful, especially, as I said, for adults. The fact that you can take your full game anywhere. It's not like a 3DS game or anything. It's a full game. Yes, it may not look as good as it would on the PS4, Xbox One, but it's still a full game you can play on the go, anywhere you go. It fits the lifestyle of a lot of people, and this truly separates it from the other consoles. And it is a big reason why the Switch has been so successful. Okay, now that we've talked about those three factors, let's tally up the scores. For games, I give the Switch an 8 out of 10. Why? Because even though the games that I've played are pretty good, they're appealing to a lot of third-party devs even, the games don't look as good on the Switch as they do on the other consoles. And there are still a lot of third-party games out there that are currently not on the Switch and haven't been announced for the Switch. And for the controls, I give it a 9 out of 10. The only reason it's not getting a 10 really is because, as I said before, some games like Mario Odyssey feel like they were more meant for the Joy-Cons, and when you put the Pro Controller in, certain aspects of the game don't work as well. And for the bonus round, I had to give the Switch a 10 out of 10. The portability factor of the Switch truly differentiates it from the other consoles, and it really gives a reason for people to buy the Switch over another console. And definitely for third-party games that are on the Switch, it really gives a reason for people to buy that game for the Switch as opposed to the Xbox One or the PS4. So tallied up, the Switch gets a 9 out of 10. It's a great console, I'm enjoying it thoroughly, and I definitely recommend this. But what do you guys think about Switch? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and may God bless you all.